Welcome back, my friends. Intel awarded up to $8.5 billion in CHIPS Act grants, with billions more in loans available. The news today is that Intel is in line to receive as much as $8.5 billion in direct funding from the federal government as part of the CHIPS Act, the White House said on Wednesday. The company could also receive up to $11 billion in loans tied to the legislation, which was passed in 2022. The awards highlight the scale of the Biden administration's push to subsidize semiconductor manufacturing on U.S. soil. But before we get into all of that, I would like to thank everyone who views my videos. If you would like to support the channel, please see the link to buy me a coffee in the video description below. And please hit the like button and leave me a comment below. I would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. The White House said Intel has been awarded up to $8.5 billion in CHIPS Act funding, as the Biden administration ramps up its effort to bring semiconductor manufacturing to U.S. soil. Intel could receive an additional $11 billion in loans from the CHIPS and Science Act, which was passed in 2022. The awards will be announced by President Joe Biden in Arizona on Wednesday. The money will help leading-edge semiconductors made in the United States keep America in the driver's seat of innovation. U.S. Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo said on a call with reporters. Intel and the White House said their agreement is non-binding and preliminary, and could change. Intel has long been a stalwart of the U.S. semiconductor industry, developing chips that power many of the world's PCs and data center servers. However, the company has been eclipsed in revenue by NVIDIA, which leads in artificial intelligence chips, and has been surpassed in market cap by rival AMD and mobile phone chipmaker Qualcomm. Even with its slide relative to its peers, Intel is uniquely situated in the industry because it operates chip factories or fabs, in addition to designing processors. AMD and NVIDIA are fabless, which means they design the chip, then send computer files and staff to Taiwan's TSMC for the manufacturing of the device. TSMC has dominated the leading edge of semiconductor manufacturing in recent years. So all of the world's fastest processors are physically built in Taiwan. That's a big reason why Intel was long expected to be one of the largest beneficiaries of the CHIPS, creating helpful incentives to produce Semiconductors Act, which targeted the unlocking of nearly $53 billion in incentives for domestic chip technology. A key motivation behind the CHIPS Act was to encourage companies to build fabs on U.S. soil to prevent a supply disruption should China ever invade Taiwan. Intel said it would spend its CHIPS Act funds on fabs and research centers in Arizona, Ohio, New Mexico, and Oregon. The company previously announced plans to spend $100 billion on U.S. programs and facilities. Intel has announced a plan to catch up in leading-edge manufacturing by 2026. Intel's Ohio fab will cost more than $20 billion, and Intel said it is expected to start production in 2027 or 2028. Intel is also expanding manufacturing operations in Arizona and New Mexico. Intel says the projects will create jobs for 20,000 people in fab construction and 10,000 people in chip manufacturing. The Ohio fab will make AI chips for Intel as well as potentially fabricate AI chips for other semiconductor companies, Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger said on a call with reporters. There are a whole lot of cranes and concrete job trucks that are building what we believe will become the premier manufacturing location, at scale, particularly for AI chips in America. Global Foundries, Microchip, and BAE Systems have already received CHIPS Act money, according to the Semiconductor Industry Association. TSMC is expected to receive CHIPS Act funds for a fab in Arizona that will be used for Apple and AMD chips. The Biden administration helped shepherd the CHIPS Act through Congress at a time of concerns after the pandemic that the loss of access to chips made in Asia could plunge the U.S. economy into recession. When pushing for the investment, lawmakers expressed concern about efforts by China to control Taiwan, which accounts for more than 90% of advanced computer chip production. Ohio Sen. Sherrod Brown, a Democrat up for re-election this year, stressed that his state would become a global leader in semiconductor manufacturing, as Intel would be generating thousands of jobs. Ohio has voted for Trump in the past two presidential elections, and Brown in November will face Republican Bernie Moreno, a Trump-backed businessman from Cleveland. Wednesday's announcement is the fourth and largest so far under the CHIPS law, with the government support expected to help enable Intel to make $100 billion in capital investments over 5 years. About 25% of that total would involve building and land, while roughly 70% would go to equipment, said Pat Gelsinger, CEO of Intel. "We think of this as a defining moment for the United States, the semiconductor industry, and for Intel," said Gelsinger, who called the CHIPS Act the most critical industrial policy legislation since World War II. The Intel CEO said on a call with reporters that he would like to see a sequel to the 2022 law in order to provide additional funding for the industry. Biden administration officials say that computer chip companies would not be investing domestically at their expected scale without the government support. Intel also plans to claim tax credits from the Treasury Department worth up to 25% on qualified investments. The Santa Clara, California-based company will use the funding in 4 different states. In Chandler, Arizona, the money will help to build 2 new chip plants and modernize an existing one. The funding will establish 2 advanced plants in New Albany, Ohio, which is just outside the state capital of Columbus. The company will also turn 2 of its plants in Rio Rancho, New Mexico into advanced packaging facilities. And Intel will also modernize facilities in Hillsboro, Oregon. The Biden administration has also made workforce training and access to affordable child care a priority in agreements to support companies. Under the agreement with the Commerce Department, Intel will commit to local training programs as well as increase the reimbursement amount for its child care program, among other efforts. At a customer event in San Jose, California, Intel Chief Executive Pat Gelsinger introduced key ecosystem partners for the company's Intel Foundry initiative. Those partners include Cadence Design Systems, CDNS, Siemens, CEG, Synopsys, SNPS, and Ansys, ANSS, which Synopsys is acquiring. Those companies will provide design tools and intellectual property portfolios for Intel Foundry customers to build their computing systems. AI is profoundly transforming the world and how we think about technology and the silicon that powers it, Gelsinger said in a news release. This is creating an unprecedented opportunity for the world's most innovative chip designers and for Intel Foundry, the world's first systems foundry for the AI era. Together, we can create new markets and revolutionize how the world uses technology to improve people's lives. Intel set a goal to become the number 2 foundry by 2030. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, TSM, is the leader in the contract chip-making business today. Including the Microsoft contract, Intel has now secured $15 billion in deal value for its foundry business, Gelsinger said. Microsoft said it will use Intel 18A process technology for a new chip to be produced later this year. With 18A, Intel will complete its goal of advancing through 5 nodes in 4 years, Gelsinger said. But Intel expects to keep up its rapid pace of development, Gelsinger said. The company said it will take a leadership position in the industry later this decade with its 14A technology, with nodes measuring 1.4 nanometers, he said. Circuit widths on chips are measured in nanometers, which are 1/1,000,000th of a meter. Intel's foundry business includes advanced packaging for chips as well as the semiconductors themselves, Gelsinger said. In other news, Intel unveiled a collaboration with ARM Holdings, ARM, to provide foundry services for startups producing ARM-based system on chips. The collaboration will provide emerging businesses with technology and manufacturing support, as well as financial assistance. But what do you think? Please hit the like button and leave us a comment below. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. Please share this video on social media. And before we end, a word from the sponsor of this video. Today's sponsor is ProWorldNet.com. ProWorldNet.com is a job website specifically dedicated to licensed professions, doctors, including any type of specialty nurses, and that includes all grades of nurses, lawyers, regardless of area of legal focus, teachers and professors, from kindergarten through graduate school, as well as any kind of job that requires a government license or certification. And ProWorldNet.com also includes short-term gig-type jobs as well, so be sure to check out ProWorldNet.com if you are looking for a job or an employee. Thank you for watching.